All right, today we're going to talk about parallel lines and the transversal line that creates the angles within the parallel lines. We're going to be able to identify them and use properties of the angles to solve equations and problems. So here's our definition of transversal. So if we're given two parallel lines, and again we know they're parallel because of the symbols, and we have this line going through it. The line going through it is called the transversal. And what happens is 8 angles are created. And within those 8 angles, we have certain unique angles that we have names for. So the first name we want to look for is corresponding. So corresponding angles, we want to think about circles. Circles and C, this is a way to think of it in an easy way. So if we were to draw a circle around each of the intersections, we create 4 angles. But if we think of the circle as like a circular table, and there's 4 seats at the table, corresponding is going to be the same seat at a different table. So for example, A is the top left seat, and that's going to correspond with E, which is the top left seat on the other table. B is the top right seat, and that's going to correspond with F, which is the top right seat there. So the other pairs are going to be C and G, and also D and F. So again, corresponding, we're going to think about it being the circle and the seat at the circle. All right, the next one is alternate interior angles. So this word interior refers to the space between the two parallel lines. That's interior. So in this case, these are your 4 interior angles right here. Now, alternating is going to be, so for example, C and F are going to be alternating. And then that means D and E will also be alternating. So those are the alternating interior angles. Same side interior angles are going to refer to these 4 angles inside again, but they're on the same side of the line. So C is going to be same side with E. And then D would be same side as F. All right, now exterior angles are going to be the angles outside of the parallel lines. And we're alternating. So similar to the inside, if I have A, the alternate exterior with A is going to be H. And then B is going to be alternate exterior to G. All right, now it's similar to how we had same side interior, we also have same side exterior. And so if I have A, which is exterior angle, the same side exterior angle will be G, which means B and H have to be same side exterior. All right, now that's how we identify the angles, and that's something that you definitely need to know how to do. It comes up on quizzes and tests throughout the year. Now, the second part is, once we identify the name, we also have to know what property it has. And the 2 most common properties we see in the class are things are congruent or they're supplementary. Out of this list here, the names that start with S, so same side interior and same side exterior, are going to be supplementary. So these things are going to equal to 180 degrees. Now, if we look at the example C and E, for example, if you look at the space of C and E and we highlight it, you notice that this is a big obtuse angle, this is a small acute angle. And because they're not the same size, they can't be congruent. So if they're not congruent, they have to be supplementary. Now, in the other examples here, all the other angles are going to be congruent. And so if we look at corresponding, for example, A and E, if we look at the size of A and E, they're both small. And because they're both small, they're both going to be congruent. If we look at B and F, we notice that they're both big, and because they're both the same, they're going to be congruent. So make sure you understand the properties, because those properties are going to allow us to solve equations and problems that are coming up shortly. Okay? So definitely, again, make sure you know how to do this. All right, so here's some examples. So the first thing we want to do is identify what angle it is. So in this case, I always want you to start with drawing circles. We want to see if it's corresponding first. So in this case, this is the top left seat and the top left seat. So these are going to be corresponding angles because they have the same seat at different tables. And we know because it does not start with S, it's going to be congruent. Also, if we look at the size of the angle, that's small and so is that. So because they're both small, the answer is going to be 48. All right, if we look at number 2, we do the circle test. So here's the top right and here's the top left. So they are not corresponding. So since they're not corresponding, let's just see if they have the same size. And when we look here, they don't have the same size. So we know that they have to add up to 180 degrees and be supplementary. So we can find out how much it is. But to name it, we need a little bit more information, and we notice that they're both inside. And so we have same side interior angles. And if we take 180 minus the 48, we would get our answer for angle B. This strategy of taking 180 minus whatever angle is going to be something you use throughout the year. All right, down here we look. If we do the circle test, we notice that they're not at the same seat, so we know that they're not going to be corresponding. We know that they are the same size, so we know they're going to be congruent. And because they're both inside, there's only 2 types of inside. There's same side and there's alternate interior. And so this is going to be an alternate interior, and the answer will be 48. Over here, again, we do the circle test and find out that they're not at the same seat, so we can get rid of corresponding, and then we check to see the size. And in this case, the size is the same, so we know the answer is going to be 48. But if we were to name it, we have to look, and we notice that they're both exterior, and they're alternating on the transversal. So this will be an alternate exterior, and the answer will be 48. All right, now, throughout the year, starting with today and going through all the lessons we have, this is going to be what the strategy you need is. The first question you're going to ask in a problem is, what is it? So in this case, we're dealing with angles. So what kind of angle are we dealing with? And we need to create that. So if we're trying to find x, x is this angle and this angle here. So what types of angles are those? Those are going to be alternate exterior. What property do alternate exterior angles have? They're going to be congruent. So because they're congruent, we can set up the equation that this angle would equal to the other angle. And so we have our equation. Right? This process of what it is, what property does it have, and then setting up the equation applies to almost every lesson we do in this course. All right, so from here, we're going to take the smallest variable and subtract it, and then we're going to take the number and add it, and then divide, and we get x equals to 5. And since the directions say solve for x, we're done with the problem. All right, now to find y, we look here, and we notice that they're not the same size. So they're different sizes. So we know the property is going to be supplementary. Now to name it, they're both interior angles and they're supplementary. And so this is going to be a same side interior. All right, now the equation is going to be 3y plus 5 plus 5y plus 15. So the one angle plus the other angle is going to be equal to 180. And it's equal to 180 because it's supplementary. So we combine like terms, we subtract 20, and then divide by 8 to get our final answer.